This is a toy spot on the DC Universe, 75 years of Superpower. This is the Toys R Us repaint of Green Lantern. First, I want to actually take an opportunity and thank the Review Revolution for picking this up for me. Dude's an awesome guy. I want to thank you very much. Just take an opportunity and stop and say thank you very much for picking this up for me. Before we actually look at the figure, we'll look at the packaging, which makes use of the same packaging as the DC Universe Wave 13. I believe it was the Wave 13. Trigon? Was that 13? Probably isn't. Wave 16? Wave 16? It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter because we're talking about Green Lantern here. Includes a collector's button. It almost looks like the cover for Green Lantern, the second series, from the 2000 line. And of course we have the very hard to notice, very hard to recognize, the exclusive Toys R Us exclusive silver sticker. Also notes a adult collector, which just want to actually comment on what I think, what the review spot here thinks of why they put the adult collector. The only reason I can think is that they're probably trying to gear this line towards adult collectors who are looking for specific variants and specific repaints of certain figures. Case in point, the Hal Jordan here. The fact that this is his more modern colored suit. I mean, surely the fact that Mattel could have easily released this figure in a garish orange, a yellow, colors not even close to being Green Lantern. They could have put stripes on him. But I think the fact that they're actually stopping and saying to themselves, well, hey, we've got an existing mold of Hal Jordan. Why don't we actually pay service to the fans and release him in a modern repaint? That's my thoughts for why they put the adult collector card there. It's just to indicate that they're actually trying their best to release figures that at least make sense, and not just cash in on the fact of reusing the same mold. On the back of the package, the other figures from the 75th anniversary collection. We've got Batman, Superman, Green Lantern, we've got Green Arrow, The Flash, Power Girl, and Nightwing. They all seem to be, from what I've seen, some are mostly just repaints of the initial figure. The Flash, for example, is a more metallic, darker burgundy color. The Superman, I believe, is in the lighter blue colors. I haven't really seen pictures. I think they're slowly bringing the wave out. Not all at once, but slowly one at a time. The read-up says, biography, while training in a flight simulator, test pilot Hal Jordan was suddenly transported to the crash site of an alien spacecraft. The injured pilot passed on to Jordan his green ring and his uniform. The ring allowed him to make real anything that he could imagine, from flying unaided through space to lifting mountains. Fantastic. Imagine lifting mountains. With it, Jordan, chosen by the ring itself because of his fearlessness, must fight evil as a member of the Green Lantern Corps. Statistics, first appearance showcase number 22, October 1959. Real name Hal Jordan. Occupation, he's a test pilot. Base of operations, Coast City, Sector 2814. Special abilities as the Green Lantern. The power ring allows travel through space, create any kind of energy construct imaginable, project offensive and defensive force fields, and translate languages. They also have used a picture of Green Lantern from the Solomon Grundy wave, as opposed to actually the updated costume. But that would be packaging. What we'll do is we'll get this opened up, and we will have ourselves a look at the 75 years of Superpower, the repaint of Green Lantern. Stay tuned. And probably the first thing you're going to notice of this figure is the incredible metallic green they've used in not only the upper torso of the figure, but also in his mask. I do like that actually quite a bit. Give you guys a turn around here. And just for the sake of comparisons, what we'll do is we'll bring in the Solomon Grundy wave of Hal Jordan figure. And I think right off the bat you can see the difference between the two. Quite night and day, really. I mean, between even the smaller differences, the black, you can see quite a bit of difference. The darker black in the Toys R Us repaint versus the very washed out. I commented actually during when I did the review of this guy that the black was very washed out on this figure. And I think you can actually really tell the difference when you compare the two together. The green is a lot more vibrant. The flesh color is a lot more vibrant, and even the hair is a richer brown versus a very washed out brown. A very good mold, but I still think this initial Hal Jordan could have been so much better. It could have been so much better. So it is actually nice to have both versions. The more not necessarily the modern age, because now the newer costume that he sports, but it is actually nice to have two versions of Hal Jordan. Technically three if you want to count the 2-pack that came with Abin Sur. Unfortunately, I would say though that with the reusing of molds, it starts to become very apparent that quality actually becomes a bit of an issue. As you'll notice, first and foremost, his head is extremely loose. I'm not really quite sure why. Usually a head is... maybe it's not... Maybe it just wasn't on enough. It actually is fine now. I take that back. He is a bit loose in the legs. Not really that bad though. I mean, he holds up pretty well. I mean, my only gripe would have been the head, but I guess it just wasn't on enough. Hal Jordan also utilizes the same remold of the lantern from the initial Solomon Grundy figure. In fact, I'll bring in the lantern that came with that Green Lantern, and you can see actually it is almost exactly the same. There is very little difference between the two. I'd say if anything, the repaint comes with a little lighter of a lantern, but it is pretty much the same. So even though we are getting all these Hal Jordans, the fact that we are still getting lanterns too is perfect. The upcoming Green Lantern box set that's going to come with Guy Gardner and all those, I don't know how many of them are actually going to come with lanterns, so if necessarily they only come with 1 or 2, you've got yourself extra lanterns. I mean, you can never have enough Green Lantern lanterns. So we'll move that out of the way as well. Of course, we'll look at his button too. I still haven't been able to find a use for these buttons. I kind of just keep them in a bag somewhere. And finally, he also does come with a DC Universe display stand, which I've mentioned time and time again. I'm glad they do actually come with display stands. There's some figures, the way you want to display them, some of the female figures especially, they don't stand well on their own. So to have DC Universe stands where we can get them is always a plus. Looking at the articulation on the figure, it would be the same as the other Hal Jordan figure, and actually most DC Universe figures as well. He has a standard ball-jointed head, which is actually loose again. I don't know, maybe you just have to get the head just quite in the right spot and you don't have that problem. But you get it off and yeah, it is loose again. He has the ball-jointed shoulders. You can rotate the bicep, you can bend at the elbow, rotate at the hand. You bend at the waist, and rotate at the waist, or bend at the mid-torso, rotate the waist. You can bend the legs back and forth, in and out, rotate the thigh, bend the knee, and finally bend the foot. Is it worth picking this figure up? I would say it's worth picking up, maybe necessarily, if you didn't get around to getting the initial Hal Jordan. If you did have the Hal Jordan, but you're looking to get a more modern costume of Hal Jordan, I'd say this is a good figure to get. The only strike I could really give the figure as on a design level is if they could have given him a more modern looking hairstyle. Almost as depicted on the back of the package, just a little bit shorter, but then that would mean a retool of the head, which they probably wouldn't be inclined to do. That would be the only strike I'd have against the figure. That aside, it's a very nice metallic green, it's a very nice black. The color is fantastic, and the fact that they're paying service to the collectors by releasing repaints such as this that make sense. The next figure I'd love to get in this line is the Flash, just because then we can have, I'm going to really consider those two different Flashes, because then you can have with the Wally West and the Barry Allen Flash. But the Hal Jordan here, despite the fact it's a repaint, and the fact that this mold has already been released 2 times before, I'm still going to give this figure an 8. It's a nice figure, and thank you again to the Review Revolution for sending this my way. Today's Toy Spot, we were looking at the Toys R Us exclusive, the 75 Years of Superpower, the DC Universe repaint of Green Lantern. And with that, I'll see you guys next time.